to do an event on Zoom and still know that it will be a success. So we want to welcome our state legislators here, and we have Representative Bob Kresick, who provided our intro music, and we thank him for that. We also have Senator Eric Giddens here tonight, and Representative Dave Williams. Representative Timmy Powers is here. And I believe I'm trying to find, is Representative Salmon here tonight? She was joining us. Maybe not yet. How about Representative Smith? I don't think, do we see him?
Mary, I was just on another meeting that Representative Smith is actually a panelist on right now. Okay. So I believe he's still doing that.
All right, perfect. I didn't want to miss any introductions, so.
And I'm Senator Bill Dotzler.
Oh, great. There you are. I knew you were joining by phone. Awesome. Thanks, Senator Dotzler. So welcome to everyone. Here's kind of a little overview of what we're going to do tonight. We're going to hear a little bit about some data, some things that are going on in Black Hawk County around with child care resource referral and our work, and also just of our vacancies and what's kind of happening in the child care world. We're also going to have a nice welcome from Mayor Quentin Hart. He's here tonight. And I know Mayor Green was also joining us, but I'm not sure that he's on yet. So we'll definitely kick off with Mayor Hart. We're going to hear some updates from some partners like Dawn Oliver from the Women's Foundation. We have Dan Levi here. You might think he's at Hilton Coliseum, but he's not. He is really in Nashville, Iowa. So he's just got the fun background. He's going to talk about Coalition. And then we're going to hear from some providers in our area. So we have Michelle Duncan and we have Linda Jacoby here tonight. And then we have the famous Julie Allison from the Department of Human Services also here tonight. She's going to give some updates. And then we're going to open it up for Q&A. So while it sounds like a big agenda, we're going to move pretty quick. And we're just excited to have everyone here tonight. So here's a little bit, you're not going to have to listen to me the whole night. So just so you know, at least not full time. But what we need to know about some Black Hawk County data is that right now, sitting for our 5-year trend, our 5-year trend just came out in July. So that shows the what spaces we've lost here in Black Hawk County, what's available. And right now, what we know is we have a 2,100 gap between spaces that are available and children that need childcare. So that work is still obviously a top priority of ours. We, as you know, the Black Hawk Child Care Coalition has been formed and we're working still on that. But we also have some exciting updates that Dan will share in a little bit. Here's a little glimpse though of what's happened in the last year, which special thanks to our awesome data specialist, Emily, she pulled this data for me this week. We have 1 new child care center in Black Hawk County, and we have 15 new child care homes, so child development home providers that are providing care. We've also had spaces added in Black Hawk County for this year, 130 spaces in child development homes. That's a huge number. And we've had 50 for our child care centers. What we've seen with COVID is we have currently 6 programs that have closed due to COVID in the span of the spring until now. So in the last several months. And currently right now we have 3 closed, but that will be opening back up. So the Black Hawk County providers have worked really hard in these last few months during this COVID pandemic and remaining open and just implementing new policies and procedures. And we'll hear a little bit about that from our folks. And then tooting the horns of my amazing staff, and a lot of them are on tonight. Here's what's happened, the work that they've done. They have done over 993 hours of technical assistance in this last year to child care providers. And that's a little over 2,000 technical assistants just out to programs. So that's duplicated, but it's almost 3,000. And then hours of consultation provided, we've had over 221 hours provided in consultation, and 270 visits have happened in this county. And then since March, we've had to kind of flip to our virtual world, and we've offered 21 virtual visits, and that was around 23 hours of virtual consultation. So lots of great work is happening, and they've worked really hard to adapt to the changes of the pandemic and just meeting the needs of our program. So big shout out to the Child Care Resource and Referral crew. And with that data, and we'll continue to talk about that through the night, let's hear from our very famous Mayor Quentin Hart. Are you there, Mayor Hart?
I am here, and I don't know about famous, but I just want to thank you, Mary. I want to thank everyone with the Child Care Coalition. I also want to tell Dan that maybe he should have ISU football in the background and maybe not basketball this year. So that's a paradigm shift overall. But to all of you, I don't have the data. I don't have all the research that all of you incredible providers and passionate for good childcare may have. But from a more mayoral perspective, we know that one of the barriers in any needs assessment we do throughout the city of Waterloo, Black Hawk County, childcare is critically important. It's critically important for our workforce. It's critically important for safe and affordable childcare. So this is one of the most important challenges that we are facing right now at our juncture within Black Hawk County and across the state and country. And from a parent, just having affordable childcare, you can have good salaries, but affordable childcare and childcare that also progresses the mental capacity and educational levels for our young children is critically important too. So as mayor of Waterloo, and I'll be mayor of the Cedar Valley right now, but I just want to say thank you so much for all your efforts. You are training up our future leaders, our next school children. You are playing such an incredible, critical role. And it's one that's definitely coming from the heart. So I want to thank you for all your efforts. And I want to thank Councilman Jonathan Greider too, who came to me. And if you know Councilman Greider, he is very passionate about what he's passionate about. And he is a passionate advocate who is our city council representative. And we just appreciate him and our state representatives. But let's make sure going to this next year that when we fight for more resources from the state level or the county level, that we make sure that we fight together, because it's absolutely worth and imperative for the lives of our young care and to get the proper respect for our child care providers. So thank you so much. I will be in and out this evening, but I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Awesome. Thanks, Mayor Green. We appreciate your leadership. And
Wait. Time out. Time out.
Mayor Hart. Oh my
Mayor
goodness.
Green.
Well, I'm looking for him right now. So sorry. Mayor
Okay,
Hart.
Beth. Thank you. No. All right. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Let's keep moving. So next up, we have Dawn Oliver here from the Iowa Women's Foundation. Dawn, do you want to give a quick welcome?
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Mary, for this opportunity. I too wish that I was there with you in the Black Hawk County. I loved going on the tour and miss being able to do that. But this is second best, being able to see everybody's faces. The Iowa Women's Foundation, as many of you know, has been working for the last 2+ years to increase the availability of quality, affordable childcare across the state of Iowa. And Black Hawk County has been a partner with us from the beginning. As a matter of fact, we have partnerships with Black Hawk County all the way back to 25 years ago when the Women's Foundation first started. So we've been supporting organizations there. We have a group called Chicks for Change that has been doing events for us and advocating for us. So there's been a long time connection with the Women's Foundation and your county, and it's one we're very grateful for. But we know that we can't increase the availability of quality, affordable childcare across our state unless we work together. Just like your mayor said, we do need to work together, not just in Black Hawk County, but all across our state. And that's where the Women's Foundation has been trying hard. We have been looking at how can we work with communities to identify doable and viable solutions to increasing childcare. We're now working with business leaders from some of the top businesses to ask them how they can help us and how their businesses can make an investment in childcare. We are working with before and after school programs to find ways to increase funding, especially now with the new schools, everything that's happening with the schools and the fact that after school programming has had to take on a lot of the care. We know that they're dealing with a lot, and we need to figure out how we can help. We're also working on childcare entrepreneurs or our providers. How can we support them with tools to become stable and to grow and to be more efficient and effective? They're doing a fabulous job, but thanks to COVID, a spotlight has been shined on how much harder it is for them and the different things that they need. We were very excited to be awarded a grant from the state this year for Child Care Ready. That is a training program for providers that we are working with CCR&R on. Each of the 5 regions is hosting 2 sessions to train providers. The goal is to hopefully have 100 people trained when we're done. Out of that, we hope 60 of them will actually go into business. And this is all coming from funds from the Employer Innovation Fund. So we're very grateful for that. And thankful for the partnership that we have with Child Care Resource and Referral to move that on. We are also looking at ways that we can play with advocacy. And many of you have heard from me in the past, and to be honest with you, you're probably going to hear from me again in the next couple of months. We have been working with 9 other organizations across the state that are child care advocate organizations, including CCR&R and Mary out of Region 2, to talk about a policy agenda and how can we come forward with an agenda that is aligned and that is the same. And we think we've done it this year, and I'm excited to share that there are 5 recommendations related to child care that we will be talking to our legislators about. One will be to increase and to help support funding to a public-private partnership. We know that the need is so great and that it's not going to just take state dollars or federal dollars to fix it. It's going to take business dollars and philanthropic dollars as well. So how can we create a public-private partnership where all these dollars come together and get back out across our state to increase the availability of childcare? We also want to see wages expanded statewide. We know that we can build all the childcare in the world, but if we don't have the workforce to run the childcare, we're in trouble. We've even had childcare centers call us and say, we have slots available, but we can't hire enough staff. If we could hire more staff, we would be able to fill those slots. We need to figure out how we can support this workforce, how we can start to see them as essential and professional and treat them that way. And we hope that we can do that through some support from wages, as well as our public-private partnerships and other options that we are considering and moving forward. We also need to see before and after school programming seen as getting some support, and we'd like to see that happen. We're also going to talk a little bit about the eligibility, the CCA income eligibility buy-ins or the entry level, and the fair market reimbursement rates. I don't think any of this will be a surprise, but it'll be coming to you soon. Other than that, it's been an interesting year, a year where many of us have had to pivot, but we've been very excited with what we've been able to accomplish. And we're looking forward to moving all of those efforts forward in 21 and working together to really make a difference in childcare. Because quite honestly, if we don't have childcare, there is not going to be any economic recovery in the state. Because if you don't have childcare, you can't go to work. You can't get the education that you need. You can't get the training that you need. So we need to figure out how we can increase the availability of quality, affordable childcare together. So thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak with you tonight to share with you the efforts that we're doing across the state with our partners.
Awesome. Thank you, Dawn. We appreciate you and your partnerships. Definitely elevated the conversation around the state. Next up is Dan Levi, who is coming to us to talk a lot about our Blackhawk Child Care Coalition's updates and just a lot of other great things that he does focusing on childcare across the state.
Oh, thank you, Mary. So thank you everyone for participating in this Zoom. It'd be a lot more fun, like Mary said, if we were all together, and really appreciate all of our elected officials for taking the time to sit on this Zoom and for all of the work you do supporting childcare. Everything we've gotten done through the coalition has been because of partnerships. It started with a small group of us, really just trying to elevate the noise about childcare, and it seems like it's getting some traction. Because a lot of people were now talking about this and looking for solutions to this, and it's going to take that public-private partnership to get there. In particular, the coalition, we've got a lot of branches: mentorship, non-English speaking, those needing assistance, educational process. Specifically, what we will talk about, as Mary alluded to, is what's going on with Cedar Valley Kids. Mary and I sit on that board, and we are working towards some really exciting project opportunities that are going to increase the number of slots in the Cedar Valley, in Cedar Falls and Waterloo both, and looking at really incredible partnerships with UNI, VGM, and Western Home Communities to start with, but we're always looking for more. And we're getting really close. We're talking about very particular sites. We're talking about pro formas and opportunities and partnerships, again, as to what we can do to really start whittling away at that 2,000 plus gap. What we've been able to do is enter into partnerships and get companies excited because of the data and because of the research that's being done by CCR&R, because of the word getting spread beyond our borders, like the Iowa Women's Foundation does in so many communities across Iowa, and then all the work of everyone at CCR&R, doing the data collection, being advocates, trying to help our home providers as well as our centers just do better, be better at what they do, and then help moms and dads find those places, because it's really hard to find places for kids to go. Well, we've got a gap. So Cedar Valley Kids is trying to whittle away a little bit at that gap. But we haven't been able to do much because of COVID. We're not haven't been able to get together much. So our other areas are a little bit lacking. So what we've been doing is focusing on Cedar Valley Kids and developing those public-private partnerships in our regular day work at Levi Architecture. We are in about 24 different communities or more now, and we hear the same thing. It's the same story at different scales. Every community has unique opportunities and unique challenges, but we find that using those partnerships is the best way to solve that. And that means utilizing our state resources, CCR&R, and then foundations and nonprofits like the Iowa Women's Foundation, community foundations, excuse me, and then getting incredible support for the industry through the legislator, through what's happening at the State House, and how they're helping providers really on a day-to-day basis, and then talking about different policies, talking about new ways to support them. So if we all just continue to communicate, talk about the real problems, and talk about real solutions, we are sure that we can continue to make headway into this crisis.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate all your work. Go get yourself some popcorn from the concession stand. I know, great joke. Okay, next up is Michelle Duncan. We are going to highlight a provider tonight. So we have Michelle here tonight. We also have a child care center director, Linda Jacoby, who you're going to hear from a little bit. But first, we're going to talk to Michelle. So Michelle is going to introduce herself. So Michelle, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your program, capacity, history, and any highlights you'd like to share with the group.
Okay, so Michelle Duncan. So I here in Waterloo, and I have, so my capacity is 6 at a time. I do have 8 children enrolled at the moment, but so I have 4 full-time and then 4 part-times that 4 part-timers kind of fill in like 2 full-time spots there. So I haven't been, doing this for 20 years. I kind of new. So September 2019, I started, and then, so I got welcomed in the COVID era here, I suppose. But I guess I just would first and foremost say like how amazing. I just have to sing the praises of CCR&R. They just walked me through, like they held my hand through the whole thing, and I kind of took a big risk doing this. I always wanted to do it in my, do this. This has like been my dream, but I'm a mother of 4. I was the stay-at-home mom for 10 years. And then when the baby hit first grade, I was like, okay, I guess I better get out there. And so, so I did, but then kind of hit that burnout, and I just kept coming back. Like I just always talked about wanting to do childcare, but with 4 of my own, nobody wanted it in the house. It really wasn't conducive to like having a separate space for this. So we stepped out on a limb, and I purchased another home in town to open up a daycare. So so the potential of like growing and like second shift and third shift are always things that, like I'm thinking ahead, for someday in the future. But I guess that's that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about COVID. So you're saying you were a new provider. You're just coming into this profession. So talk to us a little bit about the last several months and the impact it's had on your program. Maybe first just start with, did enrollment change? Did any children unenroll? Did you see any financial impacts? And just kind of walk us through your what resources and steps that helped you.
Right. So I'm very thankful. I wasn't hit too hard. Like every family, was able to keep working. Either they went, worked from home. I had 3 families that work at the hospitals here in town. So they continued working. And then I did have one family whose mom was in a salon, and that obviously closed. So they went down to 1 income, and they're like, we're going to have to keep him home. And so, and it was right. So I was without somebody for about a week. And then, families are reaching out like crazy at that time, scrambling, trying to find other care because things were, young people were scared and not really sure what was going on. And I was able to take another child to fill that spot, thankfully. So that worked out. And I just did a week by week. And I said, when the salon's open, like, we'll give you a week's notice. But, and that whole time they were trying to find a new permanent because their place had closed. So unfortunately, like after I had to, sever ties with them, I kept in touch, just seeing how they were doing and trying to help them. But I think they were without care for another month. And that wasn't an uncommon story for a lot of families, unfortunately. And so like when the stipends started coming in, I was so excited to be able to tell my families like, hey, look what I got for you. A lot of tears shed, like they were super excited, to get that help. So that was amazing. And then the stipends for the daycare, I just have socked it away because again, it's a whole nother house. I have all the bills, for that. And so it always makes my stomach a little bit nervous. What happens when I get sick? What am I going to do? So that's what that's put away for the hopefully, but if that happens, like I'm so appreciative that I have that little cushion.
Definitely. That's awesome. What about any supplies or anything? Did you see a need for supplies for your program and any resources or steps you took?
Mm-hmm. So my husband is a big buy and bulk kind of guy. So we were set up right from the get-go. In fact, when I seen like other providers in need, I was able to share. And then there was a couple points where I was like, something's getting low, and CCR&R would call me like, hey, do you need blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, how did you know? So that was amazing. I'd done retail management before this, and out of the blue, the owner of the store that I used to work at called and said, "Hey, I'm at Sam's and I'm seeing," and he like listed off all these things. He's like, "Do you need any of that?" And I was like, "Yeah." So and I thought I was going to like reimburse him. I didn't know why we didn't talk a lot, so I don't know why he called me, but I'm so glad he did. And he came over and dropped it all off on my doorstep. And so I was really thankful. And that's, again, I was even able to share those supplies with some other people that, had been struggling. So I did pretty good. And then as far as like cleaning and that sort of thing, you'll hear me talk about my husband. My husband's like, I don't know what I'd do without him, but he's he was a area supervisor for a chain restaurant and for years. And so like food and cleanliness and germs and all that stuff was already ingrained in our brains, and we had like a very good system already going. But as far as that went, I really haven't changed. I didn't have to do anything drastic, and because thankfully it's not in my home, it's all just geared towards that. Like I was able to, clean and walk away, not contaminate anything.
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And did you have to ever close down during this time? You remained open. Okay.
Yep, I sure did.
Sounds like you have a good support system, and you've been good too.
Right, and I would say too, like with that, then then you've got the school age kids, and so some of them had siblings. So it was really amazing that I was able to help out with that when the schools shut down. I was able to help some of the siblings as well and keep them.
Definitely. Awesome. So then the final question for you is, and it's if you have a magic wand, what is something you would love to see, change about childcare, or something, an added resource or additional funding, and what could be used towards that?
Right. So I couldn't really, like, I thought about that for a little bit, and I was like, I don't know if I'm just too new and haven't run into things, yet. But my husband had a good one again with him, but because it is another house, property taxes, I didn't know if that would ever be a thing, like to be able to help offset some of the like the overhead. That's $2,500 a year. That's huge.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's almost relief, any type of assistance for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. That's good.
So.
Anything else before we open it up to our legislators for questions?
I don't think so.
Okay. Thanks, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome job. Eric, Bob, Dave, Bill, Timmy, do you guys have anything you'd like to ask Michelle?
Well, I can just share briefly that, with session starting up, I know that last session, this was a fairly significant topic. We'll see what the majority party decides to do with this issue. I think that was a good one was about relief on property taxes for providers. I find that quite interesting, and maybe there's something we can go on that route too. So, but session starts the 11th, and we don't really know any of the particulars about what's going to occur. We'll find out someday, I would assume.
Right.
My questions is really for Julie, not Michelle, but Julie Allison, is there some incentives for like Michelle's business? She opened up a home and is bringing folks in. Are there other incentives she could be taking advantage of that we could be working with her on so that she can do some expansions or add staff if she wanted to?
Right.
Are there some things that are available? I know we talked the other day with Dr. Garcia, and you were talking about all the different opportunities for childcare providers. Is there anything in this sense, since Michelle has opened up, another home and is expanding and has probably the ability to expand if possible?
Yeah, I think, hi, good evening. I think Michelle hit on some of the things that we've been offering. She didn't, state DHS, but the stipends and the supplies, we provided those through CCR&R. As far as expansion and such, yeah, I mean, we tell folks to reach out to Mary and her staff, and they sit down and problem solve with folks. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those things and some of the flexibilities we've had around regulatory policies too. So, when Michelle was talking about, I've been able to offer some school-age children some slots. We did a lot of flexibility throughout this COVID crisis and exceptions to policies and allowing people to care for more children than what their actual capacity is, as long as we could ensure safety. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but definitely I think her working with CCR&R and ours are, we're right on the same path, and then they reach out to our folks at central office and problem solve.
Thank you. And she just has such an awesome facility, being a home, and it looks like something she could really grow. And so I just didn't know if there were some opportunities to get her some extra funding to help take care of some of the gap. So she's got a good philosophy and a good program going. I would love to see that program grow in the Cedar Valley.
Yes, it was enjoyable to hear her talk with all the passion that she has.
Definitely. Any other questions for Michelle?
I had a question. Michelle, when you talked about the property tax burden, that made me think of insurance, and I wondered, what insurance is like for you, and could you share a little bit about that?
Well, I can only share a little bit because my husband pays all the bills. But I do remember it was definitely a rigmarole trying to get insurance. It's definitely not cheap. And so just kind of hitting on some things the other ladies were saying too, is definitely, obviously we purchased this home, refinanced our home to purchase this home. And took on a lot, thinking future, thinking long term, expanding in this net, so that costs like that will balance out. And it's definitely my husband's always hunting and searching. There's no inexpensive insurance for this, for darn sure. So so that, yeah, we could throw that in with the property taxes, please. Thank you.
Magic wand.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Other questions or comments for Michelle? Otherwise, we'll move on to Linda Jacoby. All right. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, Linda Jacoby. I'm going to try and unmute you. But if I can't, go ahead and do it yourself. Looks like it's technical difficulties. I think Esti's coming too. I can hear her. All right, so we'll just wait. We'll get Linda unmuted here. And then I know Emily's going to pull up a graphic that will show some pictures. And we'll get started.
Have the magic.
There it is. I can hear.
Hi. Can you hear me now, Mary?
We can.
Wonderful. Well, Cedar Valley Preschool and Child Care Center is a 4-star preschool and child care program that serves children ages 18 months up to 11 years. And we serve children from the North Cedar area of Cedar Falls and the surrounding Cedar Valley. We have children that are from different family compositions, diverse cultures, different capabilities, and a variety of different economic circumstances. We have 64 children on the premises as our maximum, and we have been at a great deal less than that recently due to the COVID regulations in terms of social distancing. We very much appreciate the ongoing support from CCR&R, and I'm pleased to tell you that this year we are celebrating our 50th anniversary. And that's something that we're delighted about, and mostly delighted that we're still here. We did close for a period of time and have reopened now. Our program is unique in several aspects. We have the only certified Nature Explorer outdoor classroom in Blackhawk County. We are also a program with dedicated and consistent staff. We also have a variety of programs that come in as visiting curriculum in addition to our regular curriculum. Some of those are on hold at the moment. We have a variety of things going on right now that are addressing new issues. And as you can see, one of the things we did while we were going through this period of time was doing some renovation of our playground. And you see some of those pictures illustrated on your screen. The reason being, although no, it wasn't the very best time to renovate it. However, it was very necessary because a couple of pieces of our playground equipment were deteriorating. And certainly for the children's safety and well-being, we wanted it to be a welcoming, safe, inclusive environment. So that's what we did. And we thank the Cedar Falls Community Foundation for grant support for that. We also had several donations that made it into a reality. Added to that were a number of volunteers that were very helpful in many different aspects of playground renovation. We had master gardeners helping rejuvenate our butterfly garden, and UNI students helping to rake, overseed, and compost our grass area. We have an Eagle Scout making us new vegetable planters. And we also have our John Deere friends that come annually to take down the old equipment and help remove that safely, and also do their usual annual maintenance and improvements of the playground, which was terrific.
Awesome. Thanks, Linda. Your introductions are always the best. Talk to us a little bit more about COVID-19. You talked a little bit about that you closed for a period of time.
We did. I must admit, I thought when we closed on March 18th that it would be for a couple of weeks. It ended up being 2.5 months. And reopening was a challenge from the standpoint of course, as we were closed, bills continued. Insurance, utilities, mortgage, etc. And at that time, there was very little income because, of course, we weren't charging any families, even though we were holding their spots for them, but they had no access to the program. So, of course, we had no means of charging. So we had very limited income at that time. We did receive support from PPP funds, also the local consortium of agencies that provided for the COVID-19 local funding provided some funds. We had the DHS special funding for reopening funds, as well as discounts for the essential workers families. And we also had some grants. We worked very hard during the period of time we were closed to be able to reopen and restabilize so that we could continue, because we always knew that we must continue for the sake of the children. The costs to reopen and to continue have been extraordinary. Staff costs have been much higher due to the fact that we no longer allow parents into the building. Staff meet the children at the door, have them sanitize their hands, take their temperatures, take them to their classroom, put away their coats and book bags and things. We have people that are just staffing the door, not staffing classrooms, doing that primarily the first few hours and last few hours of the day. But that requires extra staff. And certainly in terms of materials, gloves, masks, cleaning supplies, sanitizing supplies, laundry supplies, professional floor care to do deep cleaning prior to the children returning, 2 new vacuums, and things keep escalating in some interesting ways. Now, the Department of Health, who we revere and believe have excellent input, want us to open the windows several times a day, and we can watch the utilities going right out the windows. However, it's a matter of, we still think that's a good idea to enhance the ventilation, so we do that. However, we know that that's also going to increase utilities during this time. We feel that there's less children in the program right now due to social distancing, and we have been working towards very slowly rebuilding that as things are more stable and a little bit more balanced. We hope to be at full capacity perhaps in the summer, and that's been something that we do want to work toward. It has already been an extensive expansion over the cleaning that we were doing previously, which was rigorous daily. But for example, cot supplies in terms of the sheets and blankets that the children use, instead of laundering those weekly, were laundered daily. And so now everything is rather a continual throughout the day cleaning process, which is important and has protected that we've had no children that have had any COVID infection. We had one staff, however, she was not with us at the time when she would have been contagious. So we feel as though we've been very fortunate. Many things have been things to continue to ramp up, to reevaluate regularly, and to be in touch with people at Child Care Resource and Referral, as well as the Blackhawk County Health Department, and checking the CDC regulations to make sure that we are continually looking at things as they need to be revamped, reevaluated, and refurbished in terms of what's going to be the best protocol for best practice for the children's safety and health.
Awesome. I think you've answered. I was going to ask you about capacity, and you answered that. What about that magic wand? If you had that magic wand, what would you change, or what would you add?
I would have to echo what Don Oliver said. In terms of increasing availability of quality, affordable childcare, it is critical for economic recovery and family stabilization. We are receiving 2 to 5 calls per day now. We can put them on a waiting list. We can forward them to Child Care Resource and Referral. We've had very few opportunities unless someone is moving up from one class to another as they age into the next group, and we may have an opening for the youngest groups, but typically we have very few opportunities for people to join the group. And actually, many of the families that are with us have been with us long-term. Children may start as toddlers in the 18-month group and stay with us through their early elementary years as school agers. That's not uncommon, and sometimes we have more than one child in a family. And I'm pleased to tell you that we have several families that we have the children of the children who used to go there. And many of those adult people are now part of the volunteer system that help to continue our services. And volunteers have been a very critical piece of what we do. In 2019, we had 132 volunteers providing over 4,000 hours of service support.
Oh, that's awesome. You do a great job of connecting in the community and bringing those volunteers in. Anything else you want to tell us?
I don't believe so.
All right, great job. Eric, Bob, Timmy, anyone have some questions? Bill? I know Roz joined us now, so I think we've got Any questions or comments for Linda? She just does such a thorough job. She answers all our questions. Okay. Well, if you think we can always come back. Let's move on. Thank you to our two participants and our two providers. I know we've seen your guys' work firsthand and just what a wonderful job you're doing and all of our providers in Black Hawk County. But we often say, you know, you are the true heroes out there taking care of those little kids and making sure families can get to work. So thank you. Julie Allison, I know she is here and she is excited. Julie is our bureau chief at the Department of Human Services. I have to toot Julie's horn. She is amazing to work with, but she also at one point this spring drove up supplies for us to Northeast Iowa. It was not one of her most favorite trips up to Waterloo, but I think that just shows her leadership and how she's boots on the ground and knew that this needed to be delivered and continue conversations with us on what were the needs of the providers and listening to us and then working to make it happen. So we appreciate her. And she's here tonight to give some updates from DHS and some legislative updates as well.
So just to add on to that, since Mary brought it up, it wasn't because I didn't want to visit Black Hawk County. I actually graduated from University of Northern Iowa, love the area. It just so happens that I underestimated the power of cleaning supplies and what that would mean when I put them in my personal vehicle, an SUV, and transported them to Waterloo. So I was overpowered by chemicals. I had all my windows down and I dropped them off at Black Hawk CCR&R. But it was a memorable trip and a lot of fun moments with CCR&R, laughing about that when laughs were very much needed and still are. So it's been a stressful time for everybody. I just wanted to start by, I love quotes. So I saw this quote by the First Focus on Children. It's a bipartisan advocacy organization, and they dedicate their work to making children and families a priority in federal policy and budget decisions, which was really important, right? But I feel like it really captures what we've always known, and even more so what the pandemic has meant to all of us. And I just love the quote, so I'm going to share it before I get into my little spiel here. But the quote was, "We don't think it's an overstatement to say our economy rests on childcare and can't function without it." So I know we all knew that before, and we certainly know it now. It's obvious, and I applaud everyone's efforts. It's not just one person or one agency getting us back to where we need to be. So we knew prior to COVID, but with the COVID pandemic, that the need for sustainable childcare and support for Iowa's workforce, now it's been magnified basically, that childcare is essential. The department collaborated. You've heard lots of people talking about partnerships. I am so proud to be in the state of Iowa. I've worked in other states. Nothing is like the state of Iowa in partnerships. So those partnerships with CCR&R, Early Childhood Iowa, Iowa Women's Foundation, et cetera, help, and providers themselves helped us develop a menu of childcare sustainability strategies that you heard Linda and Michelle talk a little bit about. And it really was a menu to provide different mechanisms of financial relief for childcare providers, but we knew it wasn't a one-time deal, right? You heard about the Paycheck Protection Plan, some local dollars. So it really was going to take a collaboration of different funding streams, but we did receive $32 million in federal CARES dollars, and the Department of Human Services began immediately offering assistance to providers. We didn't have an infrastructure to pay providers. We didn't have staff to do all the work. So it really was hit the ground running hard lots of weekends, lots of nights to get out this menu of strategies. In March, we started paying for the unlimited absent days. The rest of the strategies began in April, and they've went through the end of December. So those strategies, were the basic stipend. You get online, you apply, you fill out a survey, and you apply for it. Essential employee stipend. We had our rejuvenation grants. Linda referenced that. If a child care provider's closed and they needed to reopen, we had some startup funds available to help with cleaning supplies and stuff. Paying for those unlimited absent days, even if folks weren't able to bring their kids into child care and they were receiving child care assistance, we paid for those days. Supplies, CCR&R were helpful partners in getting those out, the word out, and getting those to people. And then we also paid for co-pays for families, and what that was, when you're on child care assistance, there is generally a co-pay that families pay to providers. And what we said was, we're going to pay the provider directly, and child care providers don't charge those co-pays to families. So families could use those funds for other things like rent, food, etc. And again, I think all of those assisted childcare sustainability, and we've had few permanent closures. In addition to the CARES dollars, I did want to talk a little bit about, we've also tapped into what funds we have available at a state level in the federal realm. We have child care development funds, and we use that money too to pay for absence days. And this is fresh off the press, and I'm kind of one of those people that, I want to know what I got for Christmas the day before and all that kind of stuff. So I can't keep my mouth quiet, but pretty soon you're going to see In Constant Contact through CCR&R, and you'll see on our website this week yet, but since I've got you all here, I'm just going to tell you, and I'm very happy to say that we're going to continue to fund the basic stipends January and February with the CCDF funds. So you need to apply online again. And then we're also going to continue to pay for unlimited absent days in the months of January and February. So that will be a full year of support that I feel privileged that we were able to provide folks. Our funding, of course, is not enough to just, keep your businesses running, keeping providers running. There was federal resources, local resources, but I'd say that we have had a good outcome in the state of Iowa. At the height of temporary closure, we were at 65%, and as of a month ago, we are at 4%. And we have seen closures due to COVID, permanent closures, but they've been very limited. Also we have been mindful of the regulatory requirements being asked of providers, during the time of crisis, and we've waived or provided exceptions to policies when we've had the ability to do so. Some are federally required, and we are not allowed to do that. To be more flexible, I guess. We know you've recognized the department's flexibility because Mary and other CCR&R directors have been talking with us about it. And I just wanted to personally thank you for letting us know what would be helpful in this area. And we tried to be as responsive and flexible as we could. So, I know that this year's been a challenge, and I saw a really cool, I don't know, what would you call it, Mary? The appreciation video to DHS.
Yeah, the thank you video that our providers did to DHS.
Yeah, I can't tell you how, I shared that with the director. They put it on our website. My staff shed tears. We take this very seriously, and we're very happy that you guys went to the effort to give that to, put that together, because you certainly didn't have to. So my message really today is that despite, sometimes Department of Human Services and regulatory requirements, yada, 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 we really do value our childcare providers and all of our partnerships in the state. Our efforts have been genuine, and they've been provided because we do value you, the providers. And lastly, I just wanted to thank CCR&R for being a valuable partner and advocate for childcare in the state of Iowa. I'm not kidding you. They continue to go over and beyond, and they never cease to amaze me. And I just think, you know, going forward, I think it's inevitable we're going to continue to have challenges. But I think if we all work together, and you know, we're going to get through this personally and professionally, right? So there's the whole professional thing, and we're all challenged with everything that's going on personally in our lives too. So thank you very much. And thanks for having me tonight, Mary.
Thank you, Julie. We appreciate you. We definitely, right, just like Julie was talking about the thank you video, but one of our staff came with the idea of doing something right before Thanksgiving for our DHS partners, and we often know they hear the negative and, you know, take the complaints. And so we wanted to do something. We sent something out. Emily, our data specialist, worked, and SD worked alongside of a communication staff here at EPI, and I think we had over 15 providers respond. We had a great turnout. So, but just the video was cute. Kids were involved, signs,
yeah,
very colorful. So it was a great something, an email that we wanted to send right before Thanksgiving. So
that's cool.
All right. So that concludes our program tonight for our speakers, but I do want to open it up to Eric, and I know Roz is still with us, and Timmy. I don't know if, and Bob, if we have Senator Dotzler still. Yep, Senator Dotzler is still here. Just opening it up to all of our legislators for any questions or comments.
My only comment was that I looked on my Facebook page and I got memories. And so like 3-4 years ago, we were on the tour, and it was, I really enjoyed those, and they're kind of a learning moment for me as a legislator to just see kind of the difficulties and what we need to do to help remedy some of the barriers for childcare. So Mary, I appreciate you putting this all together, and your staff and all the things that you're doing. And you guys are kind of a landmark down there at the Capitol. All I got to do is say your name, Mary, and they, oh God, yeah, right away. They climb on. So thank you, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you. We'll get back on that bus, we promise.
Mary, what do you forecast kind of the big things that we really need to have our eye on and be watching, you know, through as committees start and as we go through, you know, what do you want us to be really focused? Where do you want our focus to be, right now?
You know, I mean, there's so many things. I know Dawn talked a little bit about their policy agenda that will be coming out from the Iowa Women's Foundation, and we're definitely, our logo's on there, and we're supporting, and it talks about childcare assistance and, you know, many pieces. I think the big things that we see here in Region 2 are the workforce, and we're not really sure what the magic answer is for that. I mean, we need to pay our folks more, definitely. Our home providers deserve more, and also our centers deserve more pay. But it's that recruitment and retention efforts too. So really just kind of finding a way that we can recruit and retain, and I say kids, really college kids, young adults, and people to come and work in this field and make it be that profession. So that's one high priority. And then, you know, obviously Dan and my work all over across with expansion, we see communities, and Waterloo Cedar Falls has been one that's been looking at expansion, and it's just looking at those early opportunities on how can they expand and what's the answer. We do a lot of that pro forma work and that business planning work, and just running those numbers to see what they're going to need and what that, you know, what the costs are. So that's always a huge need, because sometimes we know it might not work for the community as well. So having those dollars to maybe just support some expansion, exploration, really. And I mean, I I could talk all night. I don't know if you guys want me to keep going, but you know, obviously it's just our support to our programs and the supplies. We're going to see COVID be a huge hit on their financial status, and where will we be in a year for availability. And so I think as these programs continue to grow to full capacity, homes and centers, just what do they need to get there too, and just resources and support. So.
And do you think for our expansion to really look at our gap, do you think our recruitment and the pay is probably our number one barrier in the Cedar Valley?
Yes, it's one of them. Okay. It's hard to rate, you know, the barriers, but yes, right now the workforce is what we're hearing from many.
Yeah, and raising the pay for those folks, but not raising the fee to the families trying to afford the childcare.
Right.
Timmy, I would say that's what you really got to focus on is the need is there. So we clearly have, from a business perspective, you clearly have the sales.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the cost to bring those sales to market, and that's the expense side is you want to pay more, but your margins are already so, laughably tight that simply paying more to get better staff or more staff so that you can provide the service, as our illustrious Chris Sparks likes to say at our board meetings at EPI, we're simply losing money at a slower rate rather than making money. If we pay more, which is great because we'll get better staff and more staff and be able to fill them, we're going to lose money at a faster rate. And so how do we increase that pay structure without passing on those dollars to mom and dad directly? Because we're already at getting to be somewhat untenable rates. If you're an entry line, CNA or factory worker, and you have 2 or 3 kids in daycare or in childcare, excuse me. Wow. It almost makes it not worth to go to work. And then what happens? Well, then typically mom stays home. So now we're eliminating, or we're having an incredible, deep, robust, educated, a quality of female workforce not either come into market or not stay in our market. And our number one problem in our business communities is talent. It always is. All of our clients across all the different industries we serve, number one problem is talent. It's not sales. They can sell. It's enticing talent to come work for them. How do we do that? So it obviously very complex issue, but you hit it. Increasing that salary so that we can increase the number of people looking to work in the industry and the quality of teachers that we can get, while not somehow increasing what is already a pretty steep cost structure to the moms and dads. How do we do that? Boy, I don't know. If I knew that, who knows? Maybe I'd be governor by then if I had those kind of answers. I don't know how we do that. What Mary and I have done early on, and what the coalition has really taken off with, and what we see a lot of other communities doing, is partnerships. Finding a way to get the public sector, or the private sector, excuse me, to the table to understand that childcare is something they need to view as a benefit, just like health insurance, just like dental insurance, just like life insurance. ESOP, if you're one of those organizations, 401k, they've got to see it as that. If we can get even some money out of that private sector, I think there's real chance that we can get some real work done. But those partnerships, are a little harder to come by than we would hope.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for everything you're doing. We're seeing the same thing with home health providers. So I'm seeing it with my childcare providers, our home health providers. We're just not paying people to take care of our children and our seniors and our persons with disabilities. And it's sad. And we do need to come up with how are we going to fix that problem, because it's a huge problem, and the cost can't go back on the backs of those families. And we want Michelle and the folks working for Linda to be proud of a job that they can sustain, and they want to be there and pay their bills and go forward. So we have work to do yet. Julie will need to sit and brainstorm how we can do this.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody.
Bill Dotzler here.
Hi, Senator Dotzler.
Okay, I didn't know if you had me. I got blocked out a couple of times and had to hang up and reconnect. Just a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank our providers for telling their stories. And I want to thank Julie with DHS for the work that the state employees are doing to really connect with people. And it's pretty evident that they really do care. And I was very disappointed to see that the governor's only recommending freezing their wages for the next 2 years as a reward for all this hard work by state employees during the COVID event and what's been going on. And it's very disappointing. One of the things that I'm deeply involved with, and this is going to be entering my quarter of a century in the legislature, I hate to admit to that. I've completed 24 sessions, and I've always been involved in economic development, variety of committees. And the Institute of Decision Making has an advisory council at UNI. It's made up of economic development organizations across the state. And one of the things that they talk about at the very top of their list is what they call placemaking. It's a new buzzword that's, creating communities that attract workers to it. And the first thing they talk about is, and this is a quote, issues such as child care, housing, and transportation. The child care issue is critical to our economic development and running our economy in the state of Iowa. And everywhere you go, the recruiters are saying, that's the one question that's being asked. If a spouse is working or both of them have to work, where are they going to get this child care? And I know we talked about a lot of it last year, and it's pretty obvious that the state has done some things during COVID to kind of mitigate some of the issues, but certainly we're not taking care of the real systemic problem. I mean, I know that the Chamber Alliance just put out their wish list, and they carry a lot of weight with the majority party. And one of the things that they did talk about was child care in there, and also this placemaking, making communities attractive, but at the same time, they were talking about raising the sales tax and converting some of those tax into tax cuts for businesses, which in turn would help some of the small businesses and even child care centers across the state of Iowa if their property taxes were reduced. But the money would come from a sales tax increase from the general public, and we don't have the type of wage increases across Iowa, even on the state level now. It's a freeze. And when you look at what's going on, we are pricing people also out of the market, the low-end people out of affordable child care. So this session, we need to really sit down and try to work together to talk about the issues that's going to move our economy forward, and certainly taking care of child care issues and health care and direct care workers across the state, as Representative Timmy Brown Powers talked about, is so critical. And I appreciate having the opportunity to hear not only from providers, but the people in the state that have been working on these issues. And let's just hope that we can get and sit down and get away from the political rhetoric that's out there and really try to work together to try to solve some of these very critical and real problems. And I just want to thank you for this opportunity and congratulate you on all the hard work that's being done across Black Hawk County.
Thank you, Senator Datzler. You are definitely, those are some great points. I think I'm voting you for governor instead of Dan Levi. Just putting that out there.
Thank you.
You have my vote.
I tell you what, you got to be crazy to want that job anyway. I am crazy, but I don't want it.
Exactly. Any other comments?
I'll just say how grateful I am for everything all you guys have done and continue to do. And I'll just say, during this difficult time, we're months away from, a safe environment where we can say we're on the full path to economic recovery. And during this time, anything we can do to help you guys navigate state government or get connected to, resources that might be helpful, that's part of our job too. We're not just lawmakers that go to Des Moines and work on new legislation. We're also here to help our constituents. And so, reach out to us, do whatever you can to get in touch with any of us, legislators in the Cedar Valley, and we're here for you to do whatever we can to help get through this together. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks, Senator Giddens. Appreciate all of your support. Any other final comments?
I would just say, I just want to put on the radar, hey, everybody, thank you for joining this evening. Just want to throw on our radar the impact that our COVID has on our education system and how they may impact our childcare sector as well. Understanding that, my 3-year-old is going to be preschool eligible next year, right? And I'm making that difficult decision with my wife if we send her to school or not, depending on what COVID looks like. That's going to impact the number of childcare providers that we need across our state, across our county. And if a childcare center, whether in home or not, will look more like a classroom, and what that means for childcare providers in the ability to attract childcare providers to our state, with the wages that are being paid, and what that means for the health of other young people, but also the providers there as well. So I just want to put that on our radar as we look at enrollment numbers going into session. We're hopeful that we can provide some flexibility to our school districts, but I would just say watch that closely. Mary, I know you already are going to anyway and have been, but anytime I can flag some things that are on our radar, I want to do that for this group, because I think that's going to have a large impact on the ability to operate with fidelity and safety.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Representative Smith. Yes, we will definitely keep you guys all posted. I know we're going to continue to do monthly updates just on the childcare vacancies and just the data for what's going on in the county. So we'll continue to do that at the beginning of each month. You'll get that email. So if you're not on that distribution list, send me a message and I'll definitely get you added. Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? All right. Well, hey, I thank everyone for being here tonight. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I think our legislators, we've got we have the best in the state. I know that for sure. So we appreciate all that they're doing and just their support and being our childcare cheerleaders. And all of our speakers and our guests tonight, thank you for being here. We wish you a Merry Christmas, and here's to 2021 being a lot better than 2020. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.